How's it going, everyone? We've been doing a lot of coverage of the PlayStation Store's Black Friday sale, and in this video, we'll have a compilation of all of the videos that we've done under $5, under 10, under 20, as well as more expensive deals. Should be a good way to go, especially with Black Friday officially kicking off tomorrow. This will be a good gauge for some of the titles I would recommend to you guys to check out, especially with the price points they're at. Enjoy the content, guys, and do expect more coverage all year long, especially with the holiday sale right around the corner. That'll do it for me. Again, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and enjoy. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its Black Friday sale. Yesterday, we took a look at games under the price of $10. Now it's time for games under the price of $5. Now, this will cover the Black Friday sale as well as the indie sale running concurrently right now. I consider it all a part of the Black Friday festivities, but let's get right into it, and let's start things off with Batman Return to Arkham, 75% off for $4.99. Man, oh man, Rocksteady, what a fall from grace that they seemingly have had. Suicide Squad, I hope it turns out well, but this is Rocksteady at their absolute peak. Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City were two tremendous titles and really opened the eyes to a lot of people that superhero video games, licensed games, could be really good. I remember going into the release of Arkham Asylum and I was like, yeah, bro, this game ain't gonna be good. I was like a teenager at that point. And even I was like, yeah, superhero games are always trash. And then Arkham Asylum came out, and it absolutely blew everyone away. The combat was great, the story was good, the voice acting was great, a decent bit of content, and then Arkham City obviously opened it up even more and was a great title as well. Both games for $5 is a no-brainer, and I'd give it a strong recommendation, whether you played the Arkham games back on the PS3 days, or this is your first venture into the Arkham franchise, a easy recommendation here. Next up, we have A Way Out from Hazelight and EA. This is 85% off for $4.49, a co-op only title, which, you know what, for the holiday festivities, playing a co-op game makes a lot of sense. It's all about family and whatnot, and why not check out A Way Out. It's got a really solid story, great art style here, and Hazelight as a studio has really carved out a niche for themselves in creating these like really compelling co-op titles. A Way Out was their debut game. They also did It Takes Two, which a lot of people think It Takes Two is even better than A Way Out. I thought A Way Out was really solid. It's a game that, you know, you can complete relatively quickly, don't get it twisted, but for $4.49, I think this is a really good buy, and I would definitely give it a shout here. Next up, Rayman Legends is 80% off for $3.99. I often talk up Rayman Legends. It's just a fantastic game, a fantastic platformer with an awesome art style, a good bit of content for a platformer as well. And I always need to mention, man, Ubisoft, you got so many quality IPs under your umbrella, and Rayman is absolutely one of them. I get it that maybe it's not as monetizable as an Assassin's Creed and that colossal open world and all that, but man, I feel like there's still an audience for high-quality platformers like this, and I would love to see another traditional Rayman game, like a Rayman Legends, but for $4, this is a tremendous pickup, and I would give it a strong recommendation as well. If you're remotely into platformers, if you want to, you know, ease somebody into gaming with something pretty colorful, Rayman Legends is a really solid option, so $4 for that, no-brainer there. Next up, we have Among Us, which is 40% off for $2.99. Now, Among Us typically goes for $5, so its regular price fits the under $5 threshold, but it's on sale right now as well, so you guys already know what this is about. Social deduction game, great party title, and a great multiplayer game, and once again, kind of fits the festivities of the holidays, so I feel like Among Us is an easy recommendation on that regard as well. There was a period where I was playing this a lot whenever friends were online and we just wanted to kill time and like have a, you know, a good experience for a little bit. Among Us always offered that, and it was a good social experience. 40% off for $3, good price there. Next up, Dishonored Definitive Edition is 75% off for $4.99. Obviously, you guys know how I feel about this game. It's an absolutely awesome action stealth title where you can really play it however you want, whether you want to go the super action-heavy route or you want to, you know, be more methodical in your approach and take a more stealthy approach to the game. The latter is probably the more rewarding way to play the game, and that's probably what I would recommend, and there's actually some influences to how the game shakes out as far as how you play the game, but for $5, really solid pickup, and the Definitive Edition includes the DLC as well, which is quite nice. After you play this, obviously go play Dishonored 2 as well. That's a great game and a great outing, and Definitive Edition is available on Plus Premium, but, you know, Plus is what it is at this point, am I not right? Next up, we have Need for Speed Heat, 92% off for $4.79. You know what? The Need for Speed franchise is incredibly inconsistent these days. Sometimes you'll get like a quality game like a Hot Pursuit, and then sometimes you'll get that Need for Speed game from like 2015. Well, Need for Speed Heat from Ghost Games actually turned out to be quite good. Really embodied that arcade racing aspect, over-the-top gameplay. You know, some of the chases weren't great, but I felt like overall the game was solid. Soundtrack is really good and thematically really fit the tone of the game. Visually, I thought it looked pretty good. For this price point, I think it's a great pickup. $4.79, definitely would give it a shout at that price. So give that a look. I think it's a worthwhile pickup. And if you want an arcade racer, that's a pretty fun time. Next up, we have Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, 80% off for $3.99. This is very much a shorter game, but it's got a great narrative, emotionally hooking, and it's pretty simplistic in terms of actually accessing the game, but I think anybody can jump in and at least get emotionally engrossed into the game. It's an epic journey of two brothers as they set out to find a cure for their dying father, so obviously with that, you can already tell that it's going to be a bit of a tearjerker as far as that is concerned. More of a puzzle-based game, but still a pretty good time all around. Next up, we have Torchlight 2 from Gearbox, 80% off for $3.99. This is an action RPG, dungeon crawling. It has multiplayer as well if you do want to play it that way. Open dynamic world, co-op play, and everything like that. Obviously, like these days, Diablo 3, Diablo 4, those games get the attention. Torchlight often compared to it, and Torchlight 3 ended up being not so great, but Torchlight 2 I had a great time with, and for $3.99, if you're looking for a dungeon crawling action RPG, not a bad shout there either. Next up, we have Red Faction 1 and 2. These are both $2.24 a pop. Now, these are obviously PS2 on PS4 titles, so they absolutely show their age, but these games were actually done by Volition, the same studio that brought you the Saints Row titles, and they're pretty good first-person shooters with an emphasis on destruction, and overall, it's definitely enjoyable. Not super lengthy or anything like that, but at the time, the games were pushing the envelope a little bit. Obviously, you're talking 2 decades ago, so keep your expectations in line, but you're paying $2 and change for these, so I think that's a pretty good deal. Next up, we have Thronebreaker: The Witcher Tale. Certainly the Witcher game that goes under the radar because it's not necessarily your traditional Witcher game. It is an RPG with an emphasis on the storytelling, a card game gimmick attached to it as well. More strategy-based, but still an enjoyable game all around. I wouldn't say, you know, spend $20 on it, but $4.99 seems like a pretty good price to me. So those deals that I just mentioned, all of them were from the Black Friday sale. Now let's cover some deals from the indie sale. We have Limbo and Inside. Limbo is a game that I think everybody should have in their library, and they probably do in some form, whether it be on an older console, whether it be, I believe it's on mobile phones, but nevertheless, Limbo was one of those downloadable titles that really showcased early on that downloadable titles on smaller sized games could be remarkable in their own right. Limbo had an incredible aesthetic, great presentation, and just an incredible atmosphere as well. And that's true for Inside as well, the Playdead game that I feel like doesn't get enough love. It's at $4.99 and still a remarkable experience in its own right. The darker tone, ambiance, and atmosphere shines through here as well. For $4.99 or $2.49 for Limbo, both are great pickups. Next up, we have Luminous Remastered, 70% off for $4.49. Played the hell out of Luminous on PSP, and man, if I can say one thing about Luminous, it's an incredibly addicting experience. Great soundtrack here as well, and visually just very, very pleasing on the eyes, and a very chill game to play, but at the same time a game that you can sink a lot of time into without even knowing and get pretty addicted. But Luminous Remastered is a really, really solid experience, and if you're into puzzlers with great soundtracks, I think this is one that you'll enjoy. And again, a game you can kick back, relax it, not being too action heavy or anything like that. I feel like Luminous is a really solid time, so $4.49, good price there. And lastly, Mark of the Ninja Remastered is 75% off for $4.99. I believe this is a new low for the game because I don't recall seeing this for $4.99 before. Usually it goes to $10 or $8, but $5, this is the perfect price where I can definitely strongly recommend Mark of the Ninja. It came out on the Xbox 360 initially. I don't believe it ever released on the PS3, but then we got this remastered release, updated visuals, includes the DLC, a really aesthetically pleasing action stealth title. Does not get enough love, but I strongly recommend it. If you do enjoy action stealth games, Mark of the Ninja will be right up your alley. And again, a game that does not get enough love. You know, it being re-released at a full $20, I believe that's what its initial price was, and it might have even been $15 when it initially came out because that was the price point of downloadable games back then. But yeah, like the $20 initial price tag was a little bit high for a re-release, but for $4.99, again, if you're remotely into action stealth titles, this one's got an awesome visual style, great gameplay, and for this price point, I can easily give it a recommendation, so definitely check that out. That's probably one of the best deals that I've seen, honestly, across all of the sales. Just happy to see Mark of the Ninja sub $5, and it's a game that deserves more love, but the price point was a little bit high for my liking, and that's me being a little bit cheap for sure. But that'll do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals under the price of $5. As always, links to all of these deals will be in the description box down below. That's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store continues to run its Black Friday sale as well as its Indie sale. Don't sleep on the Indie sale because it's quite good. Want to highlight some more deals under the price of $10 that I think are quite good, so let's get right into it. First of all, let's start off with Telltale's Wolf Among Us. I think Wolf Among Us is a fantastic game that I would say is 1A, 1B as far as Telltale's best titles go. Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead Season 1. In my opinion, you could go back and forth on which one is better. I would put Walking Dead Season 2 right below those two, I think. But Wolf Among Us was fantastic, narratively incredibly compelling, a more mature tone. Even though Walking Dead, certainly a relatively mature tone as well. Fantastic main character. I think the Wolf is somebody that was one of the better main characters that I've seen in a video game, in all honesty. Want to see what's happening with Wolf Among Us Season 2? Hopefully that comes to fruition. It seems like it's been in the works for quite a while, but maybe sooner rather than later we'll actually get our hands on it. Nevertheless, Wolf Among Us, great buy here. Definitely would give it a recommendation. Next up, we have Ghost Runner, which is 70% off for $8.99. Now, this game is available on PlayStation Plus Extra, and of course, Ghost Runner 2 just did drop and was received incredibly well. Still need to put more time into that, but Ghost Runner 1 is a game that I did enjoy, though there are times where this game can get incredibly frustrating, and I think if you played this game, you know exactly what I mean. Ghost Runner does a lot of things right, though, for the style of game that it is. First of all, from a gameplay standpoint, the action combat, the parkour, I think those elements are just done so well. And yes, Ghost Runner is a challenging game. At times, you could even say it's an infuriating game, but what Ghost Runner does really well is that even when you fail at an attempt, it puts you right back into the thick of things, and you're in this gameplay loop that is super addictive, and they get you right back into the action very quickly. I think that is one of the integral components of Ghost Runner that make it work and make it such an addictive experience. The soundtrack is also really great. For this price point, I'd definitely give it a shout. You'll probably enjoy it to the point of at least putting Ghost Runner 2 on your wish list. Still going for a hefty price, but for now, Ghost Runner 1, certainly a good pickup. Next up, we have Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition, 80% off for $7.99. One of the more underrated RPGs that you are going to come across. If you're a fan of the more historical thematics that Kingdom Come is bringing to the table, you will really enjoy the game. And I think from a setting and presentation standpoint, the game is really strong. The visuals are great, the story is captivating, and there is a lot of content. The gameplay might not be for everybody, but I still thought it was a pretty damn good game. And with the Royal Edition, you get all the DLC. Again, contextually, I think this game does a really good job for what it's trying to go for. And for this price point, again, you're getting so much content for your dollar that I think it's a no-brainer. Next up, we have My Hero One's Justice 2, which is down to $9.99. Now, I would say, a My Hero Academia fan. Like, when you say that you're a fan of an anime, I think people have the expectation that you must be caught up with the anime, you must read the manga, all that stuff, and that's not the case for me. I watch My Hero Academy Seasons 1 through 3. And the fact that I call it My Hero Academy, that probably triggers some people. My Hero Academia, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I did enjoy my time watching it. I just fell off of it. Nothing against, you know, the subsequent seasons. I still have to watch them, and I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point. But enjoyed My Hero One's Justice quite a bit, but One's Justice 2 was really where it was at, because it expands the game quite a bit, adds a lot more content, and really refines it as a whole. If you're a fan of these arena fighters, you'll enjoy it, and obviously these games are made for fans of the IP. If you're not a My Hero fan, obviously don't check it out, but if you are a fan, you're gonna enjoy it quite a bit. Good fighting game here, and super flashy and great presentation as well. Next up, we have BioShock the Collection, 80% off for $9.99. I mean, it's BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite. This is one collection that you just can't go wrong with, and a franchise that you really can't go wrong with. BioShock is just tremendous. I personally am a big fan of BioShock Infinite. That is my favorite in the entire series. Some people think that's blasphemous, and you have to go with BioShock 1. Whatever whatever game you like the best, more power to you. I think everybody just agrees that Bioshock 1 and Infinite are at another level compared to Bioshock 2, but Bioshock 2 is still really good, so the entire collection is quite good, and you're getting rather well-paced first-person shooters that aren't super lengthy, so you can jump in, have a good time, and then move on to the next title. Next up, speaking of well-paced first-person shooters, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, 85% off for $6. I thought Wolfenstein 2 was awesome. I would recommend you to play the New Order. They do have like a recap video, but you know the deal. You should play the original. New Colossus is a really great game, really good gameplay. I wish there was a full-on PS5 upgrade, but what can you do? We can't have nice things all the time. Yeah, obviously Wolfenstein does get a little bit wacky, a little bit off the wall, and that is certainly true with Wolfenstein 2 as well, but I still think the game is quite good, and $6 for it, I think, is a great pickup. Definitely give that a look. I think you guys will like it quite a bit, and I believe the studio behind this game, Machine Games, is currently at work on the Indiana Jones game, which will not be coming to PlayStation since it is a Microsoft title now. Moving on from that, Little Nightmares Complete Edition, 75% off for $7.49. I've talked up Little Nightmares quite a bit on this channel. I just think it's a fantastic atmospheric survival horror title. Incredible ambiance that the game sets, which I always say, most important part of a horror game is really making you immersed into the environment and really having a right tone, and I feel like Little Nightmares does a really good job of setting that tone. Little Nightmares 2 has come out. That game is better than Little Nightmares 1, and Little Nightmares 3 is in development, and I believe it's scheduled for an early 2024 release, which early 2024, yeah, releasing your game in that period, I don't know if that's the best idea, but whatever, I'm sure Little Nightmares 3 will turn out well, and this is the complete edition with some bonus content, so $7.49 for this, quite a good deal. Do check that out. A more underrated franchise, but a franchise that has clicked enough for it to get a third title confirmed. Next up, we have a Metro Redux Collection, 80% off for $5.99. This includes Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light. I've talked about these games ad nauseum. They are fantastic atmospheric first-person shooters. First-person shooters typically have a focus on online play. That is not the case with Metro. You go to these games for their single-player component, their narrative, their storytelling. The gameplay is pretty good as well, but really the setting is fantastic, the voice acting is really good, and it does tell quite a good story. They're relatively short games, like you can complete them in 8 to 10 hours, but you're getting both 2033 and Last Light here for $6. Quite a good deal. Definitely would give that a recommendation. And again, that's a franchise I talk about ad nauseum. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning is next, 75% off for $9.99. Re-Reckoning, whatever, I say Re-Reckoning. Re-Reckoning. Kingdoms of Amalur is a game that I really enjoyed. You know, I initially played this back on the PlayStation 3 when it came out, and this is a game that definitely had some financial turmoil attached to it when it initially came out. Look up the story. It's a pretty fascinating story, but thankfully THQ Nordic got the rights to it and they re-released the game in the form of this Re-Reckoning edition. Now, you have to know what you're getting into with Kingdoms of Amalur. It's a fast-paced action RPG, emphasis on the action, because the action gameplay, I think, is the element of the game that drew a lot of people into Kingdoms of Amalur. I wasn't crazy about the story or anything like that, but I thought the gameplay was incredibly fun, and that's really what kept me coming back. Now, they actually did do some bonus content for this game that is buyable separately, Fatesworn, and find that rather interesting. I wonder if they do plan on doing a sequel for this game. I feel like you can't, just because the open world RPGs are so ambitious these days that, like, if you want to do a sequel for this game, that has to be a game with a pretty high budget attached to it, and I just don't know if, like, slapping together a sequel would be worthwhile. That's just my 2 cents. Whatever the deal is, Re-Reckoning for $9.99 is a great buy, and I definitely give it a recommendation. Next up, we have Bloodborne, $9.99. I mean, this goes without saying. Everybody talks about a Bloodborne remaster for a reason. I am not a big fan of these Souls titles. For some reason, I play every single From Software game, and I have fun with them every time out, but they aren't the games that I enjoy all the time. Bloodborne was a game that I absolutely enjoyed, and I don't know why I enjoyed this game more than the other Souls games, but I have an idea. I think the setting really drew me in. I loved the aesthetic and the presentation of Bloodborne. I just thought that was fantastic. The world design I thought was great. Obviously, some not-so-great technical elements to the game as well, but I still love Bloodborne, and I think it's worthwhile to give it a playthrough, even if you're not the biggest Souls fan. But yeah, the dips to 23 frames per second aren't ideal, but what can you do? So those deals are a part of the Black Friday sale. Got a couple of deals I do want to mention from the Indie sale, which is essentially Black Friday deals as well. Weird West is $9.99. This was recently a PlayStation Plus Essential title, but if you missed out on it, highly recommend it. I really thought it was a captivating decision-focused RPG, and decision outside of just dialogue options. Yeah, there are a decision-making when it comes to the dialogue option, but really, it extended even further beyond that, where your decision-making on how you tackle the game from a gameplay standpoint had lasting consequences in the game as well, and I found that to be really, really well done. The game in general does have some issues. At launch, it had some bugs, glitches, things like that. A lot of that has been remedied. Got a PlayStation 5 upgrade as well, so that's quite nice, but I would check it out. For $9.99, I think this is a good buy. Very replayable game. A lot of content as well. You can easily spend 30 to 40 hours. Definitely recommend that one. Next up, DJ Max Respect V. Look, I love DJ Max. This was a game that I first checked out when the world locked down, and man, DJ Max got me to kill a lot of hours of my time, and it was just a very addicting experience. You know, at that point, I wasn't really looking to get into a big narrative-driven game right away, and DJ Max was a game that I went to, and I spent a lot of time with it. Now, as is the case with a lot of music rhythm games, a lot of DLC attached to it, so yeah, if you want all the content, expect to pay a pretty penny, but the base game has a solid lineup of tracks, and it'll give you a feel for the game and the gameplay style and things like that. You can play it on easy, you can play it on the hardest difficulty. The hardest difficulty, like, I will absolutely whoop you, but nevertheless, some people get wild with DJ Max, and they're actually quite competent in the game, unlike me, but I still enjoy it quite a bit. $9.99, I think that's a great price. My final recommendation, Trek to Yomi, is at $9.99 as well. This is a game that I really enjoyed. Obviously, most people were captivated and interested in this game based on the fact of its visual style. It has a really, really cool old school look, samurai story here as well, some supernatural elements on top of that. Game is super short. You can complete it in a sitting, 3 to 4 hours easily. Has a little bit of replay value, but yeah, that was the biggest point of contention about the fact that it was so short. But you know, your backlog is filled with 80-hour plus games. I am 100% sure of that. Why not throw in, you know, a 4-hour bite-sized experience? I feel like Trek to Yomi offers a pretty engaging experience the whole way through. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals under the price of $10 right now. Links to all of these in the description box below. And we already did an under $10 video, so if you haven't checked that out, be sure to check that out, but more deals here as well. That'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its massive Black Friday sale, and here we have deals under the price of $10. Of course, we're going to be looking at some of the games under $10, but not everything, so we'll probably do another video in the future. We'll do under 5, all that stuff, but let's get right into it, and let's talk the deals that are available right now. First of all, AI The Somnium Files is 80% off for $7.99. Spike Chunsoft titles are right up my alley. I am super into these narrative-driven titles, visual novel-esque anime-style titles. Really wasn't my cup of tea for a long time, but then playing Danganronpa, man, did I get hooked on these games. And AI The Somnium Files is a really, really good one. Awesome main character in Kaname. The story is super interesting, a lot of mystery, a lot of twists and turns. The dream sequences are interesting as well. Really good presentation, soundtrack is good, and if you're into visual novels, or you want to give the genre a shot, like, this isn't a bad one to start with because, you know, visually it still looks fairly pleasing. I think for $7.99, it's a really good pickup, and again, if you're a fan of story-driven titles, if you like that anime aesthetic, AI The Somnium Files is one very much worthwhile checking out. There was a sequel released in Nirvana Initiative, but that still holds up in price. That game's pretty good, but the first one, in my opinion, is the best one, so $7.99 for that can't be that. Next up, we have the Evil Within 1, and we'll give a shout out to Evil Within 2. They are both on sale, and you can get Evil Within 1 for $5.99. That's the digital bundle, and then the Evil Within 2 is $5.99 as well. Evil Within 2 available on Plus Extra if you do want to play it that way, but both games are really solid horror titles, great atmospheres, which I always talk about how that's important. With the digital bundle for Evil Within 1, you also do get the Season Pass content, the DLC, all that good stuff, so $6 for that is quite good. I personally enjoyed Evil Within 2 more, but that seems to be a little bit of a opinion that a lot of people don't agree with. Both games are really solid. I would recommend them, and if you're into horror games, obviously at this price point, no-brainer there. Next up, we have The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, 80% off for $7.99. This is upgraded on PlayStation 5. Look, Skyrim's gonna be a game that I always recommend. It's gonna really suck if Elder Scrolls 6 is not available on PlayStation, whatever PlayStation platform it is, but you know what? let's just make it to the release of Elder Scrolls 6 alive before we even talk about that, because that's probably, you know, it could be close to a decade away, so, like, why even talk about that? Let's talk about Skyrim, which I think is a fantastic game. I played this back on the PlayStation 3 when it initially came out, and guys, the PlayStation 3 version of Skyrim was a literal abomination, but I still loved the game and completed it. Really enjoyed my time with it on there. Obviously, you gotta play it on PC, but if you don't have a PC, the PlayStation 5 version is a good shot as well. The special edition gives you a lot of bonus content as well, so that's quite nice. And Skyrim itself is, in my opinion, the best Bethesda outing, and since Skyrim's release, Bethesda's been pretty inconsistent as a whole. Like, Fallout 4 was good, but not great. Fallout 76, obviously, a train wreck when it initially came out, and Starfield, I liked, but, really, it wasn't at the level of Skyrim, and Skyrim still holds a special place in my heart, and if you've never played it, like, at this point, it is a game that came out back in 2011, so a lot of, you know, newer gamers don't have that nostalgic feel for Skyrim, but if you're one of those, you should go back and give it a shot. $8 is a great deal. Next up, we have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It is 80% off for $7.99. I often talk about how Jedi Survivor is among my favorite games of the year. That still holds true. I think the game is better than Jedi Fallen Order, but Jedi Fallen Order is good in its own right, and it's got a great PlayStation 5 upgrade. See the story of Cal Kestis really start to form with Fallen Order, and like Cal at the start of Jedi Survivor, like he's already a seasoned Jedi. In this game, he's really finding his footing, and it's nice to see the character progression throughout the games, and ultimately, hopefully, what happens in the third Jedi game. But this is a good game. There are some issues with it. I thought the map design, as far as the actual like map that you look at, awful, just absolutely terrible. Like, I can't even get past how terrible it is, and if you go online, like, a lot of people agree with that notion that the map in this game is so bad. It's just an abomination. They really fix it up in Jedi Survivor, but in Fallen Order, terrible, terrible. I just can't stop talking about how terrible it is, but yes, outside of that, the gameplay is great, visuals are great, $7.99 is a good buy, definitely would give that a look. Next up, we have Immortals Fenyx Rising, 85% off for $9. Now, I don't think as highly of this Ubisoft title as most people, but I will give credit where credit is due with Fenyx Rising, because it is a lot different than a lot of other Ubisoft games, especially their open world titles. Aesthetically, it's going to be a game that its presentation is either you're going to really like it or it's not going to be for you. For me, I wasn't really super into the super colorful look. The comedy really didn't hit with me, but gameplay-wise, there's definitely stuff to like with Immortals Fenyx Rising. There was a sequel in development, unfortunately. Seems like that got the can, so, you know, what can you do? But I would say for $9, it's a pretty good buy. There is bonus content in the game, so if you want everything, you have to pick up the gold edition, but that's not even on sale right now, and it's $100, so, like, don't even pick that up. I would just stick with the base game, like, $9 for that is perfectly serviceable, so go check that out. Speaking of Ubisoft titles, Watch Dogs 2 Deluxe Edition is 85% off for $9. I believe this game recently got pulled from PlayStation Plus Extra as well. Watch Dogs 2 I thought was a really solid game. You know, Watch Dogs 1 had an enormous amount of hype leading into its release. Ubisoft really had the opportunity to establish Watch Dogs at the level of Assassin's Creed, maybe even bigger than Assassin's Creed, and me saying that now is probably like, bro, you're taking that too far, but go back. You can't really appreciate how much hype Watch Dogs 1 had. The hype to Watch Dogs 1 was astronomical, and I feel like people don't remember how crazy it was. Unfortunately, Watch Dogs 1 was a bit of a disappointment. There was aspects certainly to like, but Watch Dogs 2 really refined the experience and improved it from a gameplay standpoint. I wasn't crazy about the narrative, but Watch Dogs 2 is a really solid game, and I often say Watch Dogs 2 was kind of like what Assassin's Creed 2 was for Assassin's Creed, in that AC1 left a lot of people disappointed, but AC2 changed some things and made it a lot more accessible. It felt like Watch Dogs 2 did a lot of that, and it was a rather good game. Unfortunately, AC2 revitalized AC. Not that AC really needed the revitalization even after AC1, but it continued to build off AC2. Feel like Watch Dogs didn't have that same treatment, in the sense that Watch Dogs 2 came out, it didn't do blow away numbers, and then Legion was what it was, but I digress. Watch Dogs 2 for $9, great deal, and this is the deluxe edition, by the way, so you'll get some bonus content there. Next up, we have Mafia Definitive Edition, 75% off for $9.99. Always recommend this game. You know, in an era of gaming where we're talking about so many games being 50, 100, 150 hours, I know you guys got disgustingly huge backlogs. Sometimes it's nice to sit down and play a game that's 8 to 10 hours and having a really quality experience that tells a good story, has great voice acting. Gameplay, it's a little bit dated at this point, given that this is a refined version of a PS2 title. It is a full-on remake. Like, you look at this game visually and it looks quite good, but I think for $9.99 it's quite good. Obviously, go play Mafia 2. That was a Plus Essential title recently. Mafia 3 is decent, and Mafia 4 is reportedly in development right now, so that'll be pretty exciting as well. Hopefully that turns out well, but we'll see how that ultimately does. Next up, we have South Park: The Stick of Truth, 75% off for $7.49. Now, I'm not a big South Park guy. I haven't watched much South Park. I watched the special that came out a few years ago. Nothing against it. I actually find it kind of humorous, but checked out South Park: The Stick of Truth when it came out back in the fall of 2013, and I was honestly blown away by how much I liked that game. Now, first of all, I thought it was very funny, and I, again, don't have that affinity towards South Park, so if you're a South Park fan, you'll like this game even more. The presentation style, obviously, if you're a South Park fan, you'll love it. And fundamentally, it's a well-made RPG. Like, that's the funniest thing about this game, because you think about it, it's a freaking South Park game. And then, like, mechanically, it's a well-made game. And you know what? It's done by Obsidian, so you should expect it to be a well-made game. Back in 2013, I really had no idea who Obsidian was, so I didn't have that reference point. But, yeah, the game turned out great. Obviously, Fractured But Whole exists as well. But Stick of Truth for $7.49. Great pickup there. Certainly recommend that. Next up, we have Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, 83% off for $5.09. Really timely mention here. A lot of talk about Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma 2 may be that game from Capcom that they had talked about that they didn't announce a release window for, and it might be the early 2024 game that they're saying is expected to sell millions, because the reports are it might be coming out in March. And, you know, we'll talk about that if that actually gets confirmed, but Capcom just confirmed a showcase. Wild to think about how insane, excuse me, did I say 2023? 2024, the years are starting to blend. How insane early 2024 is going to be for gaming after the whirlwind of a 2023 we had. Dragon's Dogma 1 came out back in early 2012, then Dark Arisen came out a year after that, added an expansion and added more content. Dragon's Dogma was a good game, had some technical limitations on PS3, that's remedied a lot on the PS4. Game is good. Really challenging, a good bit of content, and a lot of unique mechanics as well. If you're a fan of the Souls games, you'll really dig this as well. Excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. Nice to see a game like this get a sequel, but if you want to know why it's anticipated, you should play Dragon's Dogma 1. And lastly, Prey Digital Deluxe Edition is 80% off for $7.99. Think this is quite a good deal, given that you get Prey the base game, Moon Crash, and Typhon Hunter. Prey is a super underrated game in my opinion. It does not get the love that it deserves, and this is done by the branch of Arcane that also did the world-renowned Redfall. Yeah, Bethesda, you probably should have just let Arcane do a sequel to this game or something, you know, more similar to this game instead of, you know, trying to push them down the live service nonsense. But nonetheless, Prey 2017 was a great game, incredible atmosphere. The vibes to the game were really strong in terms of tone. I thought they did a really good job, more of a psychological game. Not super lengthy, but does have a decent bit of content, all things considered. Fascinating story for this price point. I think it's great and certainly would recommend you to check it out. So definitely give that a buy as well. But that is going to do it for me. Again, this is the initial portion of the under $10 games we're going to look at. We still got to get to under $5. Obviously, there's going to be more under $10. And really, I feel like the bulk of the quality deals from the Black Friday sale, as is the case every year, is the games at the higher price thresholds, but I know you guys are cheap like me, so yeah, I wanted to do this video first, but check it out. Definitely like a deal that I would definitely recommend. AI the Somnium Files, like $7.99. That's why I mentioned it right off the top. That's just a great narrative-driven title. Doesn't get enough love, and obviously I never expect the Spike Chunsoft games to be like super mainstream, world-renowned games or anything like that, but if I can do my part in getting more people to play them, that's a job well done by me. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its Black Friday sale. Already looked at deals under $5, under $10, but now it is time for under $20. And that actually gives us a nice threshold to work with. And honestly, some of the deals under $20, that's like the best deals you're gonna find as a part of this sale. Given that gets us to the threshold where the games are really good, but sometimes, you know, these publishers want to keep their games a little bit above $10 for a little while longer, and that's understandable in a lot of regards. But got 10 titles to go over here in this video. Probably gonna do another one like this in a bit, but let's get right into it and let's kick things off with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. 80% off for $11.99. As much as I meme on BioWare these days, and rightfully so. I mean, after the release of Andromeda and Anthem, and teasing a new Mass Effect game that'll be out in probably the year 2030, like, come on now. But what I can say about Mass Effect Legendary Edition is this is BioWare at their peak. Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3, all three of those games are absolutely fantastic. Mass Effect 2 in particular, of course, is just a tremendous game. Mass Effect 1, they did what they could to try to modernize it, but it still shows its age. But ME2 and 3 are just fantastic, fantastic games, and for $12 to get the entire trilogy, that's just a killer deal, so strongly recommend that. Next up, we have Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, 75% off for $14.99, another awesome action RPG. Now, DBZ Kakarot is available on PlayStation Plus Extra, however, only the PlayStation 4 version of the game is available on Plus Extra. You know, Bandai Namco, do what they gotta do, but yeah, if you want to play the game on PlayStation 5, you actually have to own the copy of the game. DBZ Kakarot is a really well done game. It's a great retelling of the DBZ story, even though they do cut out some things that are a little bit jarring, particularly stuff like Trunks' fight with Cell was completely cut out. Like, bro, I want to see Trunks power up for 25 minutes. Come on now, like, we need to see that. But nevertheless, DBZ Kakarot is still a really well done game. The combat's pretty enjoyable, and if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, I mean, they're gonna retell this story like a billion times, but finding interesting ways to do it as such, that's gonna go a long way, and I feel like DBZ Kakarot did a pretty good job in doing that. Now, if Naruto could get the treatment that DBZ Kakarot got as far as a game standpoint, oh, we'd be cooking with that. I feel like that could be incredible, but you know, hopefully CyberConnect 2 will get around to that instead of just slapping together Storm re-releases, am I right? But Kakarot here, $15, good deal. There also, the game does have a sizable amount of DLC. Next up, Hades is 40% off for $14.99. Yeah, Hades 2 is coming out, but it's still going to be a ways away before it fully releases. So, you know, Hades 1 is a fantastic game, incredible replay value, great art style, a very addicting experience, and always something that offers a new layer to its gameplay. You can sink, well over 100 hours into the game, and it's a game that, you know, people just rave about. I didn't get as invested into it as some of my friends did, but even I could tell that this is a game that, for this price point, $15, it's tremendous, and Supergiant Games has been one of the very best in terms of game development, really, for the last 15 years, like since Bastion has come out, and it's been a long time since Bastion dropped. But their games have been super consistent, and Hades is probably the game that took them on another level in terms of recognition, but $15 for that, great deal there. Next up, Nier Automata Game of the Yorha Edition, 60% off for $15.99. Man, did Platinum Games do a fantastic job with the gameplay of this game, because Nier Automata has some fantastic action gameplay. On top of that, what resonated with the first Nier game still holds true with Automata. You have an interesting and intricate level of storytelling that, yeah, it can be a little confusing, but you do all the playthroughs and you realize it comes together pretty nicely. The soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best soundtracks that you're going to come across from the Square Enix game. I mean, their JRPGs all have great soundtracks, so it's like, yo, they're all really good, but Nier is fantastic. Let's just put it that way. You know, with all the playthroughs, it's also a relatively lengthy experience. Nier Automata is great. Strongly recommend this. Strongly recommend Nier Replicant as well, which Replicant is also on Plus Extra. Next up, we have Horizon Forbidden West, 50% off for $19.99. Yeah, this is on Plus Extra, but you know what? Forbidden West for $20, I think this is well worth a mention. Even if this doesn't include the Burning Shores expansion, the base game is still worthwhile. I liked a lot about Forbidden West. As far as playing the game, it was legitimately one of my favorite games of 2022, and I even said that me, from a personal enjoyment standpoint, I liked my time with Forbidden West more than God of War Ragnarok. I just think I wanted a style of experience that Forbidden West was. Objectively, God of War Ragnarok is probably the better game, but I really dug Forbidden West, and the visuals in this game, remarkable, outstanding, and a significant improvement upon Zero Dawn. Content-wise, a lot of it there and more depth to it. The story is where I feel like Forbidden West fumbles a little bit, and a little bit might be putting it lightly. The second half of this game, little bit jarring, and I don't necessarily agree with where they're taking Horizon as a franchise in terms of the narrative aspects of the game, but we'll see how the third game turns out. Remember that if you buy the PlayStation 4 version of Forbidden West, you get the free upgrade to the PS5 version. For some reason, Sony is selling both the PS5 version and the PS4 version at different prices. $30 for the PS5 version, but the PS4 version gives you the free upgrade, so you get the PS5 version anyway. It's kind of whack that they're doing it. I think it might be something with the PlayStation Store on PS5 itself. It might not bring up Forbidden West on the PS4. Let me know if that's the case. I don't believe that's the case, but somebody told me that that was the case, which is just weird. But yeah, I don't know why Sony's doing that. Obviously, they're doing it to sucker people out of $10. That's why I assume they're doing it, but nevertheless, $20 for that. If you want to pick up the Complete Edition, that is $39.59. It'll get you the Burning Shores expansion and a bunch of other in-game items, digital art book, comic soundtrack, in-game resource pack, stuff like that. $39.59 for that's a good deal, but that's obviously not under $20. Next up, we have LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, 70% off for $18. Really enjoyed my time with LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I'm not a big LEGO game fan. Like, I enjoy aspects of both, of course. You guys have heard me. Jedi Survivor, one of my favorite games of the year, but Skywalker Saga was a super accessible game with a lot of content, revisits, a lot of the Star Wars content, and if you're a fan of Star Wars, you're probably going to enjoy this game even more than I did. But LEGO titles are always a fun time to go in, mess around, and, you know, have a decent time with it, and I feel like Skywalker Saga offer that. There is quite a bit of DLC available for it, so here's what it is there. The Galactic Edition is on sale for $24 as well if you do want to pick that up. Next up, we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition, 70% off for $15. Obviously, got upgraded on PlayStation 5 and then had a little bit of a price appreciation as far as its discounted price, but now that it's down to $15, I mean, easy recommendation here. You get one of the best RPGs released in the last decade. Really, a lot of people would say one of the best RPGs of all time. On top of that, you get the bonus content. You get Hearts of Stone. You get Blood and Wine, two great expansions, especially Blood and Wine, and $15 for the base game and those two expansions. It's just a great deal, and Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and it runs pretty well on PS5 as well. It looks pretty good. Yeah, for this price point, it's great. I highly recommend it. Can't wait for the Witcher 1 remake. Can't wait for wherever they take Witcher in the future. I'm sure all that stuff's going to take a while for us to actually get our hands on it, but hey, good to know that there's going to be more Witcher titles coming out. Next up, we have Red Dead Redemption 2, 67% off for $19.79. Speaking of PS5 upgrades, a game that damn well needs one is RDR2. RDR2 is a fantastic game, one of my favorite games of all time here that I've played an absurd amount of times. Arthur Morgan is one of the goated main characters in all of gaming. But man, could this game use a PS5 upgrade? Is it playable? Yeah, sure, it's playable at 30 frames per second. I mean, most games are playable at 30 FPS, but 60 FPS, you know, better visuals, that would go a long way with RDR2, but you know, the game is still tremendous. It's an easy recommendation every time it goes on sale, and obviously I'm going to give it a shout once again. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey Gold Edition, 80% off for $19.99. Obviously, you guys know my feelings about Assassin's Creed these days. I'm not big on the new style of AC, but I know a lot of people do enjoy it, and Odyssey is one that is generally considered to be the best of the newer style games, and with this, the Gold Edition, you get AC Odyssey, the Season Pass with 2 major story arcs, Day 1 bonus mission, AC 3 Remastered, and AC Liberation Remastered. AC Liberation was like originally a PlayStation Vita game. It's not very good, but AC3 is a decent time, even though it's honestly one of my lesser favorite Assassin's Creed, but to get it as a part of the Gold Edition with a bunch of bonus content, Odyssey already being one of the better received AC titles for $20, I think this is a good deal. Next up, we have LA Noire, 50% off for $19.99. This game was really ahead of its time back in 2010 when it came out. The facial animations in this game were insane, and the visuals itself, great setting, great thematics to the game, mystery detective story, of course. $20 for it is kind of pricey. Like, if it was down a $9.99 slam dunk pickup here, but Rockstar gonna be Rockstar, and their games do hold up in price, and LA Noire has been one in that regard, but still a decent pickup there. And then lastly, Sifu is 60% off for $15.99. The game recently got its final update, and it was a free update that expanded the experience even more. Challenging game, but the martial arts action combat is really well done. $15.99 is a pretty damn good price for this, so definitely go check that out. And yeah, game's getting cheaper and cheaper. Might be a Plus Extra title in the near future. Kind of got that inkling, but we'll see if that comes to fruition. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals under the price of $20 over at the PlayStation Store. Links to everything, as always, in the description box below. That's going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its Black Friday sale, and generally speaking, I do videos of games under 10, under 5, under 20 even sometimes, but in this video, I just want to highlight some of the more expensive games that are on sale. No budget restriction or anything like that in this video. I'll go through all of them, but do keep in mind that for a large amount of these deals, that they are beaten out by their physical counterparts in terms of, you know, the game being on sale in stores and it being a little bit cheaper. That's just how it goes with the pricier stuff. But with that being said, there's a lot of great stuff. Some of you guys are digital-only buyers, so this will fit the bill for you. Let's get things started with the Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is 34% off for $39.59. Legitimately one of my favorite games of the year, probably among the top 3. RE4 is just a fantastic remake. It's a game that came out back in 2005, and guess what? It was one of the best games of all time back in 2005. So what happens when a team like Capcom is at the helm of doing a high-quality remake? Oh, all of a sudden you get a really, really great game once again, and that's exactly what the RE4 remake was. Gameplay solid, and yeah, Resident Evil's never gonna beat the super lengthy games, but they're incredibly replayable, enjoyable to go back and play through multiple times, get all the trophies, etc., etc. RE4, at this price point, one of the best games of the year, no-brainer in terms of a recommendation. Next up, we have Cyberpunk 2077, which is 40% off for $29.99 if you are a PlayStation Plus Premium subscriber. Hey, there is a 5-hour game trial. Now, I know, they just announced Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, which will be released at $60. It'll include the base game as well as the expansion, which at that value, it's pretty good. And the big thing is, now we wait for the complete edition to also go on sale, so the value will exponentially increase over time. But if you're eager to play Cyberpunk 2077, $30 is not a bad price point for it. Obviously, this game has been getting a lot of rave reception recently, based on the fact that 2.0 did uplift the game quite a bit, and the expansion was generally well received. I even like Cyberpunk 2077 when it initially came out. I'm not saying, you know, the PlayStation 4 version or Xbox One version was worthwhile playing, but I played it on PC, and did I think it was the best game of all time? Absolutely not. It had a lot of issues, but I really dig the Cyberpunk setting, and I feel like 2077 was still an okay game then, but now it's actually a really, really solid game, and the expansion is received really, really well, so that is only going to enhance the game if you do decide to pick that up. $30 for Cyberpunk, solid pickup there. Next up, we have God of War Ragnarok, 43% off for $39.89. A PlayStation Plus Premium 3-hour trial is available for this one. Obviously a follow-up to God of War 2018. I honestly did get more into God of War 2018. Ragnarok was a game that obviously kind of felt like more of the same, but still obviously a worthwhile game to play, and I imagine the majority of you that watch this channel already have picked it up. And if you haven't, however, or you're recommending games to a friend that may just get the PlayStation 5 this year for the first time, I mean, God of War Ragnarok for this price point at $39.89, I think is a pretty good pickup. Just do make sure that if you're recommending it to someone, they play God of War 2018 first. I don't think it's necessary to play the original trilogy. Would it be helpful? Sure. But I don't think that's absolutely necessary. But $39.89 for this, pretty good price there. Next up, we have the Dead Space remake for $35, 50% off. Now, it should be noted that the game is now available with EA Play. You can sign up to EA Play for $1 and essentially play through the entire game if you can beat it in a month. Otherwise, you know, you will have to subscribe to the service to continue playing it. And it's not, you know, full ownership of the game. So with that out of the way, as far as the remake itself goes, it is great. I didn't think it was at the level of the RE4 remake, but that's probably me just being more attached to RE4 as a game rather than Dead Space 1, although I love Dead Space 1 playing the original. They do expand it a little bit, and generally speaking, just a really, really well done remake. I can still see people being like $35 is too much, and I can understand where you're coming from. Like, it's not a super lengthy game. But, you know, the same thing could be said for the RE4 remake, so I'll let you guys decide on that opinion yourself. At the very least, yo, EA Play, 99 cents, go play it that way, because it definitely is a worthwhile game to play through. I just know some of you guys are against subscription services and whatnot. Next up, we have A Plague Tale Requiem, 50% off for $30. What a fantastic game Plague Tale Innocence and Requiem are. If you want darker, atmospheric, narrative-driven games, Plague Tale is going to offer you exactly that. I thought Plague Tale Innocence was incredibly compelling, but I feel like they also had a much larger budget to work with A Plague Tale Requiem, because this is one of the most technically impressive games, and from an ambition standpoint, it's one of the most technically impressive games that you're going to come across, and a little bit more ambitious than Plague Tale Innocence. I'm happy that this franchise has resonated as much as it has, because it looks like, you know, we'll probably get a third game, and you know, when this game, when Innocence initially came out, I did not think it was gonna, you know, resonate as well as it did, but thankfully it did, and it goes to show, like, new IPs can still pop off, and The Plague Tale is one shining example of that. When you do offer something a little bit unique, engrossing, and the narrative is incredibly strong, these single-player, story-driven games can still do very well, and it's not like, you know, this was a game done by a first-party Sony studio where the expectation level there is very high. It was done by Asabo, a relatively, you know, unknown studio. They just knocked it out of the park with Innocence and Requiem. You know, some of the gameplay aspects I'm not completely crazy about, but again, the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. Your strong recommendation there. Next up, we have Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, 40% off for $29.99. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is a game that I highly recommend you to play before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out. Yes, it's an upgraded release of a PSP game, so keep your expectations in line when it comes to, you know, technical prowess and visuals and things like that. It's not the best looking game in the world, and it's not super lengthy either. I think some people were a little bit surprised by that, given that Crisis Core is a game that you can complete in legitimately 12 to 15 hours if you rush through the main story, but there is side content and things like that, and you get the story of Zack Fair, who, you know, we'll see how his story plays out in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is coming out in February of next year, but this is an essential playthrough, I feel, and highly would recommend you to check it out. $29.99 might be seen as a little bit pricey, but worthwhile there. Next up, another Square Enix JRPG, Nier Replicant version 1.224, and a bunch of numbers. Nier Replicant is a remake of Nier that was released on the PlayStation 3 back in, I want to say, 2010, and that game didn't really resonate back then, but Automata obviously took Nier as an IP to the next level, and Replicant was a chance for them to re-release the original title. Is it as good as Automata? No. Is it very good in its own right? Absolutely. You still got an excellent soundtrack. Storytelling, albeit a bit confusing at times, it is fairly well done. Visually, like, it's not anything to write home about, given that this is essentially still a PS3 game, and, you know, me saying the term remake is probably a stretch. It's probably more of a remaster, but they do expand it and do a little bit more than your average remaster, I feel, so yeah, $24 for this I feel like is pretty good. These Nier titles always hold up in price, so just keep that in mind. Next up, another Square Enix JRPG, Tactics Ogre Reborn, 50% off for $24.99. This is a tactics-based JRPG that is incredibly challenging, so if you're gonna pick this up, just be mindful of the fact that you are going to get whooped. Chances are you're gonna get whooped. It is a daunting task and very difficult at times, but incredibly rewarding as well. Aesthetically looks great. This was initially a PlayStation 1 title, later remastered for PSP, remade for PSP. Now, Tactics Ogre Reborn is a port of that PSP version, so check it out for yourself. $25, just expect something incredibly challenging. Next up, we have No Man's Sky, 50% off for $29.99. While really not my cup of tea are these survival games, this is a game that I feel like deserves a lot of credit for Hello Games' commitment to it, because back in 2016, when it initially came out, absolute train wreck, abomination. I played the PC version when it came out. It was a horrendous version as far as performance goes. That has all been remedied. The PlayStation 5 version runs great, and they've expanded it from a content standpoint quite a bit. You've got a VR component in there as well, which is one of the more engrossing VR experiences that you're going to come across. For $30, feel like this is a pretty damn good pickup, and it's also a game that's kind of like an investment. Like, you pay $30, but you're pretty much guaranteed to get a surge of content updates throughout the year. So you're investing into something that's just going to get better and better as well. And lastly, I know I've been pretty critical about it, but want to give Last of Us Part 1 a shout. Look, it's down to $39.89. If this was down to $30 flat, I would be slam dunk. It is time to pick it up, but $40 is still a little bit of a stretch for my liking. Loved Last of Us 1, however. It is one of my favorite games of all time. There's a reason why Sony got away with re-releasing this game at $70. Look, they can't do that for a lot of games, but even though my vitriol was pronounced on this channel back in the fall of this year, Last of Us fans gonna be Last of Us fans, and part 1, it does look great. It's just you question how much of this game really needed an upgraded release. You know, if you love Last of Us 1 like I did, you're gonna enjoy the game. If you've never played it, obviously, you should give it a shot. I just don't know, should you pick up this? Should you pick up the remastered version for like a fraction of the price? That's up for you to decide, but yeah, I still did want to give that a mention, and love me some Last of Us 1, and Last of Us 2 Remastered, at least it's a $10 upgrade, at least they're doing that, but that'll do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals. Wanted to do a video without a price restriction and feel like these were some quality mentions. That's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store's Black Friday sale has officially kicked off, north of 1,000 deals, and yeah, a lot of major titles I can already see right off the top being discounted. We'll go through it all, so buckle up. There's gonna be a lot of coverage. There's a lot of physical deals as well, so like, I'm gonna be swamped with stuff to cover for the next couple of days, but bear with me, guys, bear with me. But let's get right into it. I haven't looked through the entirety of the sale, of course. Assassin's Creed Mirage is 20% off for $39.99. The Deluxe Edition is $48. I feel like this might just be the standard price, and it kind of proves my theory about this game and Ubisoft as a whole. When they discount their games, they'll discount their games steeply when it comes to games that they're gonna monetize for a long time, but when it comes to a game like Mirage that was originally just an expansion, and here it's more of a standalone experience rather than something that they can monetize for the long term, they're gonna have it hold up in price for quite a while. At least that is the conclusion that I've come up with, but yeah, if you want to check it out, 40 bucks. It's kind of pricey. Ubisoft games, like, we've been pretty much like acclimated to them being 50% off a month after release, and that is not the case with Mirage, but what are you gonna do? Diablo 4 is 42 bucks, Digital Deluxe is 54, Ultimate is 60, Mortal Kombat 1 is 49, UFC 5 Deluxe Edition is 70, Resident Evil 4 is 39.59, that is 30 bucks at Walmart. Like I said, guys, when it comes to physical games, these prices are mostly gonna get beat out, and you're gonna see a lot of that when we talk about it. Just off the front page, I can tell that, but RE4 is a tremendous game, one of my favorite games of the year, really among the top 3 to 5 for me, and it's easily worth that price point as well. Street Fighter 6, $39.59, like, again, Capcom may as well be Cap GOAT at this point, because Street Fighter 6 is honestly among the top games of the year as well. Even as somebody that's not super into fighting games, that game had a great single-player campaign for a fighting game, and incredible presentation, aesthetics, soundtrack. All of the elements outside of the competitive play that I can't really speak about, I loved out of Street Fighter 6. So $39.59, Deluxe Edition's on sale, Ultimate Edition is on sale as well. It Takes Two is $12, Hogwarts Legacy PS4 is $36, Hogwarts Legacy PS5 is $42. Like, this is one of the bigger ones that's gonna see a much steeper discount when you talk about buying it physically. Target's gonna have it for 30 bucks, and I'm sure Amazon's gonna price match it. I know some of you guys are digital only, but I feel like it's important to mention stuff like that just so, you know, if you guys are okay with either route, you know, you can pick it up a little bit cheaper. But if you're digital only, Hogwarts Legacy is a great game. It's like literally right below my threshold for my top games of the year. Like, when I look at Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil 4, titles like that, Hogwarts Legacy is probably a tier below, and I would put that, you know, among some of the other really solid games of this year. Like, I would probably put Street Fighter 6 among the Hogwarts Legacy tier, just because, you know, I'm not crazy about fighting games. But Hogwarts Legacy is great, and I love the gameplay in the game. Sure, would it have been nice to have more content? Maybe, but like, it's still a sizable game for what you're getting, and you know, I don't need every open world game to be 200 hours at length. Final Fantasy 16 is $42. That's about the price point it's gonna be physically. It's 40 bucks at some other spots, but really solid game. Obviously gonna get some DLC. I'm sure they're gonna do a complete edition at some point, so if you wanna, you know, play the long game, that is a option for you guys. But 42 bucks for Final Fantasy 16 is great. This is among my top games of the year for sure. Final Fantasy 16 I just thought was great from a soundtrack standpoint, gameplay standpoint. The action combat was so enjoyable. Some of the best boss fights that you're gonna see in video games in general, hands down, not just JRPG, video games in general. They are insane. There are some mundane elements at some points. The game comes to a screeching halt in terms of pacing. The side content ain't too great, and yeah, but overall, the pros greatly outweigh the content. I would definitely say give it a shot. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is $12. Let's see if the complete edition is on sale. It is, and it's down to 15 bucks. While it's not that $9.99, man, 15 bucks for Witcher 3 Wild Hunt all day. You know, it runs great on PS5, and obviously Witcher 3 is a tremendous game. Crew Motorfest on sale as well, if you want to check that out. See, like, they're putting that at 40% off for $36.42 for the cross-gen edition. That's a game that they're going to monetize for a while, and if you remember, Crew was a game that they were giving out free weekends, instantly discounted the game. You can kind of tell where they're going about that. God of War Ragnarok on PS4 is 30 bucks. On PS5, it is $39.89. Obviously, a game that every library should have, but would be, you know, nice to see it a little bit cheaper, but Sony first-party games these days do hold up in price. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is 42 bucks. One of my favorite games of the year, as I mentioned. The performance mode is a lot better now. I thought it was a significant improvement upon Jedi Fallen Order, and I know some people liked Fallen Order better, but, you know, I thought Jedi Survivor had an awesome narrative, especially the second half, a lot more content than Jedi Fallen Order, and just a great game all around, so 42 bucks for that. You know, we're gonna see it cheaper. It's available 35 at Amazon right now. I think it's gonna be 30 at Walmart, so you can get it a little bit cheaper, but still, I would say that's worth a pickup. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Deluxe is 20 bucks. Gotham Knights is $14. GTA 5 is $15. 20 for the PS5 version. Gran Turismo 7 is $40 still. That's a little bit pricey for my liking, but what can you do? You know, it is what it is. Lords of the Fallen seeing a discount, 30% off for 49 bucks. I mean, that just came out, so that is a nice discount on that. Cyberpunk 2077 is 40% off for 30 bucks. Great on the PS5 now, great game in general, so I even liked it. Like, I know as blasphemous as it's gonna sound, I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be at launch. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Was it a disappointment? Absolutely. But I remember, like, I legitimately was getting texts about people saying it was, like, the worst game of all time, and it just wasn't that, guys. We live in a world where Rogue Warrior exists, so, like, come on now. The Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty bundle, the expansion that just came out, is $56.79, so that's something you can check out. Lies of P, $48. A lot of people consider that to be one of the best games of the year, so take their word for it if you want. Skyrim Special Edition is $8. That's a great deal. I mean, Skyrim's a game that I'll always go back to, so there you go with that. Horizon Forbidden West is 20 bucks, and it's 30 on PS5. If I recall, the PS4 version should have a free upgrade to the PS5 version. Yeah, it does. Why is Sony doing this? Yeah, Sony, you're literally just fleecing people $10. Like, if you look at the page, it literally says Horizon Forbidden West, free digital upgrade to the PS5 version. I hope people don't get suckered and buy the PS5 version for 30 bucks. Like, come on now. The complete edition with the Burning Shores expansion and a bunch of in-game items and content, that's $39.59. You should probably just get that, so you get the expansion as well. Pretty good buy there. Burning Shores itself is 13 bucks. Actually, you can get Horizon Forbidden West for $20 and then get Burning Shores for $13, and that would be $33. Yeah, you don't have to pay $30 to get it on the PS5. You could just get the PS4 version and upgrade it for free. I don't know what Sony's doing there, but nevertheless, there you go with that. Miles Morales Ultimate Edition is $39.89. You can get Spider-Man Remastered standalone, 25 bucks. That is still egregiously expensive for a game that came out in 2018, but what can you do? You know, and it was like, it was a weird thing that they did with Spider-Man Remastered, pulling that game from Plus Extra. I'm sure they're gonna add it back to Plus Extra when Spider-Man 2, like, the hype dies down, and they'll be like, alright, we'll throw that in there for now. And, you know how this game is played. Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, $18 on that. That is great. Payday 3 is 32 bucks. Probably shouldn't get that. Destiny 2, a bunch of that is on sale. Last of Us Part 1 is at $39.89. I would really recommend that at 30 bucks. I still think 40 is too much. Like, and this is coming from somebody that legitimately considers Last of Us 1 one of his favorite games of all time, but 40 is still a little bit steep for me, but that might just be me being cheap. Look, if you feel like I feel about Last of Us 1 and it's one of your favorite games of all time and you're dying to replay it, this is a good upgraded release. The accessibility options, the visual upgrades, it's all great. Would have been nice if, you know, owners of Last of Us Remastered had an upgrade path to this or something like that, where you didn't have to spend $70 initially or even $40 now. I'm always gonna be a little bit critical when it comes to stuff like this, maybe overly so, and I'll let you guys be the judge of that, but let me just conclude by saying Last of Us 1 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I would personally say, wait till $30, but that's just my opinion. Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion bundle, that is $22. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Ragnarok Edition is $25. That's actually pretty good. Red Dead Redemption 1 is on sale, $40. It is $30 physical over at Amazon. They did up this to 60 frames per second, so man, we're gonna give credit to Rockstar for doing the bare minimum, but for as good of a game as RDR1 is, that 60 FPS goes a long way, and hell, I'll give Rockstar that credit. Now just go upgrade the FPS of Red Dead Redemption 2, which is on sale as well for $19.79. If they upgrade the FPS and upgrade RDR2 for, for PlayStation 5, I'd spend $10 on that upgrade. Let's be real, they're gonna sucker us with even more than $10. But, yeah, I'm just waiting on that RDR2 upgrade now because, I played RDR2 like an absurd amount of times, and, I would damn well play it again if it got upgraded. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is $30. That seems to be the basement price for that game, not getting any lower. A lot of in-game content on sale. No Man's Sky is $30. I mean, that's a game that's going to give you a lot of longevity. Final Fantasy VII Remake is $15. That does not get you the DLC, but Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is $15.19. Oh, that is a damn good deal, and it looks like they lowered the price point of this game to $40. 15 and change for FF7 Remake and the DLC. That's a damn good buy. However, it should be noted, if you buy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you get Remake Intergrade for free. So, Rebirth is going to be one of 2024's biggest games of the year, maybe the biggest for a lot of people. If you pre-order it, you do just get the 7 remake, so I'm just saying you can go that route, but I'll let that decision be left to you guys. Dead Space Remake is $35, decent deal there. It is a part of EA Access, however, now though, so you can get it fairly cheap. High on Life, $26, super short game there. Monster Hunter Rise is on sale. Remnant 2 is down to $35. That game just got its DLC released. The Ultimate Edition is $49, which will include said Season Pass, and that DLC was the first of 3 DLC packs that will be coming. Dying Light 2 Stay Human is $30. I really enjoyed that game, but $30 for this is way too much. Like, that should be down to $20 at this point. It's been, what, like 20 months since the game came out? Like, come on, brother, we can get that down to $20. Sonic Superstars Digital Deluxe is $49. Now, is the Standard Edition on sale? It is, in fact, not, but the Deluxe Edition gets you the extra content pack, Lego Fun Pack, digital art book, and mini soundtrack. So yeah, you can check that out. Dead Island 2 on sale. GTA Trilogy is $30, but you can make your decision on whether that or not that's worth it. That's gonna be a game that I think people pick up more for a nostalgia standpoint than anything. Atlas Fallen is $39.59. A bunch of older Assassin's Creed games on sale. Bloodborne, baby, $9.99, because we know that game ain't ever getting a remaster. I think it will, but it's just funny to meme on it. A Way Out is $4.49. Dark Souls 3, baby, 7.5-year-old game, $30, please, man. Bandai Namco and From Software Games, like, what the hell is this? Why is this $30 goddamn dollars? But you know damn well why it's $30, because people are gonna pay it, and you know what? For the Souls titles, I can give it a pass, I guess. Dark Souls Remastered is $20. Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin is $20 as well. Skyrim Anniversary Edition and Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition bundle is $26.39. A bunch of Black Desert deals. Bro, is Black Friday the time to put Black Desert DLC on sale? Like, come on, Sony. Callisto Protocol is $24.49. You guys just got that with Plus Essential, so that's not a big deal. Sonic Frontiers is down to $28 for the Digital Deluxe, which actually isn't all too bad. Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn Edition is $45. Essentially, you're paying $15 for the base game and then $30 for the expansion. Marvel's Midnight Suns is $18. That's actually really good, and the Premium Enhanced Edition is $21. That's the version you're probably going to go for, but definitely a good buy there. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is $9.99. That's a little bit more expensive than normal, so yeah, pass on that. DBZ Kakarot, however, $15, and it is available on Plus Extra, but only the PS4 version is available on Plus Extra. So, the PS5 version is a nice upgrade, and I would recommend it from that standpoint. Jedi Fallen Order, $8, obviously, easy recommendation there. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Division 2, but you guys get the idea. A lot of these deals, pretty standard stuff. Some newer titles are discounted, but I'll have a look at the entirety of the sale, and obviously we'll do more content and round out the best deals. I know some people are gonna be like, what is this? Black Friday's a disappointment, but you know, this is about my expectation level, and it's a big sale, but, you know, physically is always gonna be where you get the absolute best deals when it comes to Black Friday, but have a gander at it for yourself, and I'm sure more content from us is on the way. That'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.